guys, and welcome to Sound Design Monday. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. Instead of creating a sound that's known in a track, we are going to be creating a percussive pluck. And I haven't created the sound yet because we're going to do it together, and hopefully we can come up with something cool. I'll go into every little thing that I'm doing, and I'll explain why I do certain things and how that's going to help us achieve that percussive pluck sound. Before we get started, though, I would like to say that the Evolution of Sound podcast episode 1 is up. If you don't know what the Evolution of Sound podcast is, it's pretty much a show I started to help producers pretty much, motivate producers to get their tracks done and send them in so they can get heard. Also, it helps, new producers have somewhere to send their tracks and be heard. Of course, without you guys' support on the project, I'm really not going to have a big audience for it. So I'll be really grateful if you guys can check it out, hit like on it, and share it around. As always, you can find my presets here on Sense World on my Facebook page. And also, we are going to be starting a new series on YouTube called The Evolution of Sound. And that is going to focus more on the production techniques, sidechaining, compression, limiting, EQing, mixing, composition, and so forth. So you make sure to like that page as well, because that's where I'm going to be posting up all the downloads in order to support and promote that project that I'm doing that benefits me in no way. Okay, so let's get started with the sound. So in order to create a percussive pluck, and as always, I always stress it enough that you guys need to familiarize yourself with what ADSR is. It's not rocket science or anything, but it is really important, and that's the fact that it's the basis of synthesis in my eyes. And the reason I say that is because the amp envelope in ADSR, in general, ADSR is going to be routed to the amp envelope, and ADSR is going to let you shape the sound through the amp the way you want it. So that's pretty much the basis of the sound. Okay, you got to shape it. So a pad, you need to know ADSR. Okay, how is a pad gonna be programmed in ADSR? Well, high attack, high release, high sustain, and maybe high decay. And you don't want the attack all the way up, of course, but you want to know how to program it. So the attack is going to decide how fast the pad comes out and so forth. So that's why it's important. And it's really important here as well, because we want to make a percussive pluck. So the first thing you need to do is lower the sustain. The reason you lower the sustain because percussive pluck is going to be snappy, so you're going to be using your decay knob mainly. Okay, so here we're going to be using the decay knob. Right now we have a saw wave. We're going to change it to a triangle wave. Generally, percussive plucks work really well if you're aiming for that percussive sound, like a true percussive sound, like a tom or something. Triangle, sine work really well because they don't really have that much, harmony to them. So, right now I'm clicking this. You can barely hear the snap. I mean, you see it here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be increasing the decay, and you're going to hear it come out more and more the higher I go. So let's put it up an octave higher. So that's the way I want it, okay? So what did I do there? I increased my decay, and remember ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, release. Attack decides how fast the sound comes out. Decay decides how fast the decay goes down to the sustain. And the release decides how long it sticks around before it goes back to 0. So watch. If I increase the decay and the release, it sticks around. So we'll put the release all the way down. So that's the way we want it right there. So I have it at 2.24. And the reason it works like this is because, remember, decay is going to decide, if you can see here, there's like this little shape here, the attack, and then the decay goes down to the sustain level. If we put the decay up, you're pretty much putting this part of the wave up here. So you're going to have the attack all the way down. So it's going to be here. And then your decay is going to be here. If you guys can see it, I'll make sure to zoom in. And then it moves up. So pretty much your decay is acting kind of like, okay, low attack. So your decay is acting as how loud it's going to get. And then the sustain is at 0. So obviously it's going to be down. Let me open up Massive to show you guys what I'm really talking about though. So here we're going to be opening up Massive and just amp envelope 4. So here we have pretty much what I'm talking about. We have the attack, so we lower it. This is a sustain knob. We're going to lower it. So you can see already we have our decay at the middle. So we have this. But the lower we put our decay, now we have this. And it goes really fast down. So the higher the decay we put it, the more longer it's going to take for it to go. So that's where the pluck sound comes. So you put your decay slowly and you find how long you want your pluck to stick around. In my sense, as you can see here, I'm playing Massive right now. So low decay. So pretty cool. So there we go. That's the visual representation of this. Okay, so let's get it back to where we had it. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna increase it to 5 or 3 voices. It's not gonna do much, but it's gonna allow you to start detuning it and so forth. So we're gonna detune it a little. There. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put another triangle wave, and we're gonna put that one at 1 voice to make it a little bit more louder. Let's make it 3, so we can get that detunement there. Okay, so now we have pretty much what sounds like a, you know, like a normal percussive sound or percussive pluck. Now next thing to do is really just start putting effects and doing certain things to it. You could put a filter, but honestly it's not recommended. It's not really going to do much to the sound except, you know, run it through a filter and give it some type of warmness, but really not necessary. So we're not going to really mess with that. We might mess with it maybe when we start messing around with parameters. So, okay, now you have this pluck. It sounds really plain. So what can you do? Obviously, the first thing you're going to do is if you're going to be using it for a big room type track, you're going to add a lot of reverb to it. So we're going to increase the size. The size of a reverb here in Selenium, the bigger it is, the bigger the room the sound is going to be in. So you're going to get a bigger reverb. So pretty much this is emulating, let's say, being in a room this big. And the higher I put it, the more the screen widens. So imagine here I have, let me close this. Imagine here I have Ableton. And let's close this as well. Here we have Ableton, right? So this is our reverb room. So the higher this goes up, the more it's getting bigger and bigger. So the bigger it is, the bigger the reverb. So imagine you're in a big room and you scream. Well, okay, you're going to hear your voice kind of echo as well as sound more humongous. So that's what it's going to happen here. So bigger size. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to increase the reverb. And then what dampness is going to do is, and it's not really recommended you put it on here for this type of sound, is it's going to make the reverb sound a little bit more in the lower frequencies. So if I put it here, you hear the reverb kind of low, but if I have it up here, it's a little bit more high. And then we have the pre-delay, which is the thing that happens before the reverb, you know, occurs. So it's going to take a while for the reverb to kick in up here, but then here it just comes out. So pretty cool. And then the width, it's gonna decide where the reverb is. So if I have it at 0, it's gonna be a mono reverb, so you'll hear it more in the center. If you're wearing headphones, you'll hear it tremendously. You hear the reverb in the center, but width all the way, more towards the sides. So these are your fundamental knobs when it comes to reverb. In Ableton, you get more things to dabble with, but really all it is, it's more filters that you can use to kind of cut off the high end of the filter or the low end or boost the high. So that pretty much this is really all you need to know when it comes to reverbs. There's really more advanced stuff, but this is pretty much the basis of reverb. So hopefully you understand that. Okay, so now we're going to go into distortion, which is another neat effect. Pretty much what distortion is, and whenever you distort a sound, is you're lowering the bit rate of the sound, and that's going to give that fierce, kind of greedy sound that a lot of people seek. So let's see what kind of effects we can get with an overdrive distortion on this sound. So cool, we're getting more of a kind of squarish type sound from a triangle wave. Cool. Really not what I'm trying to seek since we're making a percussive pluck. Let's try a foldback. Same kind of effect, so, but you can see the effect we get. We're kind of bringing the pluck to life. So pretty cool. Next we check out the clip. Again, it's having the same effect, but you can kind of put it in the middle and get that sort of more bringing the percussive alive. Now decimate is gonna be one of the biggest distortions you can use, and the thing with that is, it's imagine going from hearing a PS3, the music in the PS3, and just all of a sudden it turns into Atari quality music. So imagine you're playing Call of Duty and you hear the guns like da da da. Now imagine, I'm sure many of you have played those arcade games where it's like really low bitrate like the Atari. Well, this is what decimate does. It decreases the bitrate really tremendously more than all the other percussive distortions. So let's check it out. Cool, let's try changing this to a sine. So cool, it gives you that kind of effect. See, now you can't even hear it because it's so low in distortion. So cool, now we're gonna add a chorus. It's an okay effect. Let's see if we can put more reverb. try a big crush. Really does nothing. Alright, we're gonna stick with that. Okay, now there's various things. We have various effects. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mess with the EQ. So pretty much what we have here is an EQ is in silent when we have a normal EQ. It doesn't really give you a visual representation, so let me delete this EQ. And here we have the spectrum analyzer from Ableton. So pretty much what's happening with the EQ of silent 1 is you have these knobs. We have the bass frequency and the bass volume, which I like to call 7.50 dB. And someone's calling me, but I'm not gonna pick up because I am making a tutorial. So California. So pretty much what we have is gonna be here, let me pick up and hang up. So pretty much what we have is we have the spectrum analyzer, and as you know, we have 4 knobs here. We have the bass frequency knob, the treble frequency knob, we have the EQ bass volume, and the EQ bass treble. So pretty much what we have here is the bass frequency is going to decide what frequency we're going to be lowering or boosting. So here we have the spectrum analyzer. If we play a sound, you're going to see the wave of it. So it's really, really big here. So so if you can see here, we have, let's say we go into 40 hertz, which is going to be around this area. So here's 40 around here. Now we're going to lower the volume there. Really, nothing's coming out. But let's say we boost it. This area just increases tremendously. So let's get more high. Let's say 290. See, we lowered this area. Now we're increasing it. It's increased. Lower it. Lowered. You see the lower? So that's what that's doing. So you get to decide what frequency is being boosted, and this is all it is. Really don't let it intimidate you. But what we're going to do is we're going to be decreasing the frequency, the lower ones, a lot, tremendously, because we don't want it in our pluck. Since we're going to be using this pluck with kind of a big room kick, and the big room kick is going to be really high in the low end, you really don't want your pluck giving away those frequencies, so it's best to try and remove them so they don't clog up your low end. And trust me, over time, if you have high sounds with those little low ends that you can't really hear, it does tend to add up and kind of fuck up your mastering chain in the future. So then we have the treble frequency, which again does the same thing. So we're gonna find a frequency where really the pluck needs it, and it's gonna be in this area. So we can see here 1.82 kilohertz, which means 1820. Kilo means 1,000 if you didn't take physics or chemistry. And we're going to change that right now. So 1,200. Let's just say around there. Increase it. It's going to increase it a little. So we're just going to put it around there. So now it's sounding like a true fucking pluck that they use in Big Room House. Okay, so we can add a phaser if you want, but really it's gonna ruin it. That's all it's gonna do. Really, you can add it if you want for that effect, like the one that's overused by DJs. We're definitely adding a delay, which is really, I really don't need to explain a delay. It just makes it sound a little bit wider. Sounding really cool. We can lower the reverb if you desire. Just, you know, that's all in your taste. We are creating a percussive pluck, so you guys can learn how to create them yourselves. Okay, so now what else can we do, Sen? What else, you know? Well, I mean, if you want, you can put a filter, a bandpass, but really all that's gonna do is, and good thing I brought it up as well because I haven't never explained the bandpass that well, is pretty much the bandpass, when you go to the left, you're gonna get more of the low end coming out and no high end at all. If you move to the right, you're just gonna get that high end. So a bandpass, really, I find it really useful for when I want just the high frequency of a sound in a really specific manner, and I want like a certain frequency from another sound. So as you can see, if we move to the right, we get more of the high end. To the left, we get more of the low. Till we go so cool. Now let's go higher. It's a pretty cool effect. Let's say we put it here. We can increase the resonance. Let's put AB. Can kind of make it more clicky. And what resonance is, and I've explained this before, but just so you guys understand what it is if you're new to my videos. Here's a visual representation of a low pass. And I wish I could bring it up here, but I can't. So here's a low pass. So it covers pretty much the highs first, and then the last thing you hear is the lows before, you know, it reaches 0. So what the resonance is, it's this pretty much how much is being let out at that point of filterment, if that's a real word. But you can see here, you're gonna let a lot of frequencies out here, but none here. So that's what the resonance is for. So this is a visual representation of it. So pretty much that's what it's doing, and you can get a lot of neat effects with it. Like here, make it more clicky. You get that kind of clicky. So again, can do so many things. Yeah, like I just released my Evolution of Sound volume 1 sound bank for Silent 1, and this is how I created my sounds. I go to things I'm comfortable with, like let's say I know how to create a normal square kind of lead, and then I start adding certain effects and try creating my own sounds from scratch. A lot of the times, say I'm trying to recreate a sound from someone, I try to listen in for those key things that gives it away. And most of the big room sounds, it's something that everyone knows, and if you don't know, is that they alter with the pitch. So they put a mod envelope to the pitch, and they increase the decay a bit, and you get a cool effect. See, if we move this to the 1.05, higher. So let's put it lower. So really cool stuff, you know. So that's another idea you could do for a percussive pluck, is do that, or you can put an LFO on a pitch AB. And the way LFOs really work is you choose the type of wave to use with your LFO, and generally the LFO is going to work with the wave. It's going to do, like, let's say we have a sine, it gradually it's at the middle, it gradually increases, and it slowly decreases, and so forth, compared to a square wave that is kind of more like high, straight to low, high, straight to low. And square wave is going to be the best one to use for pitch modulation. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it a little to around 1.38. We're going to increase the pitch to 164 really fast. Increase the gain. So you can see the effect it gives. We increase some more, and then so generally that's how sounds are made. And next thing we're finally gonna do, we're gonna increase this mixate. Just increase that, and now we have a percussive pluck that's ready to be used for a big room house track. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you guys like the format of this tutorial by creating pretty much a percussive pluck, or we can create a super soft from scratch as well, and I'll go into depth and stuff you can do like that to create your own sound. So if you like these type of tutorials, then let me know. Send me a message through Facebook, comment on this page, and let me know, like the video, and get shit ton of likes. Anyways, guys, please make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Also make sure to like it. The more people that like my videos, the more people that see it, and it honestly helps a lot if you like my video. It's some weird YouTube thing. Also, when through Facebook, I just recently found out the way Facebook works is that if you see something on my page and you don't like it, let's say I post something, what happens is Facebook releases that post to very amount of my followers, let's say 200 of them out of the 3,000 I have. And if none of them like it, none of my followers are going to see it in their feed. So the more of my followers that like it, the more my followers are going to see it. So it's some weird thing with YouTube. But yeah, just make sure if you like something that I post up, just make sure to like it or comment something. And that will really help me a lot in getting word out about new sound design tutorials and all of that stuff. Anyways, guys, this is SenseWorld saying goodbye. I'll see you guys next week. And don't forget, we do have a trance design coming out this week. Just make sure to be on the lookout for it. Hopefully we can learn more sound design stuff in specific and more advanced stuff. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week.